Hey guys, it's Ryan, and today we're going to look at something that if you're in a band, you've probably been thinking about, but let me tell you exactly what you want instead of what you're thinking. So if you're watching this video, probably at some point you were in a band or you are still in a band. Well, let me tell you what went through my head, I guess, when I was in a band. So when I first started getting into bands, I thought, okay, well, we're making some pretty cool music here. How can I record this? And that's what led me down this whole audio engineer path. But back then, we didn't have much to choose from. We had a couple different options. Most of them costed about $1,000. I think I had a Digi 001, and then you had to have the PCI card, and that only gave you like 2 mic pre's, and you had to, I think it was another 6 line inputs. You know, there wasn't a lot to get out of that little thing. Nowadays, if you're looking for something, you're probably gravitating towards something like this guy. This is a Focusrite. I think it's a Scarlett Solo. This is a Focusrite Scarlett Solo, and it gives you very, very basic inputs. It gives you a microphone input and a line/instrument input. So you can plug in your vocal mic and you can plug in your guitar and you can record. Very, very basic. Now, they have larger versions of this, right? So if you're looking for something a little bit more than a singer-songwriter type thing, you want enough inputs to record the entire band, or at least enough to record 8 channels on the drums, then overdub everything else. This isn't gonna quite suit you, is it? So let's look over on the computer here and we'll look at a few options that kind of are like this but have more inputs. So we're gonna jump over to the Focusrite page to see what other interfaces they have that are similar to our little Scarlett here. So once we jump over there, you know, we've got, this is actually a generation older, so they've got the 3rd gen, I think, and they have the Scarlett Solo, but as you scroll down, you've got the Scarlett Solo 18i20. And the cool thing about this interface is that you do have 8 microphone preamps, which is great. You can plug in almost the entire band if you kind of skimp on some of the drum mics, right? Or if you're going for a minimalist thing like kick, snare, overheads. Hey, perfect. This would do you good. And the price on this, I know that says pounds on there, but it's the same in US dollars. It's like $500. It's a little steep, right? But you're getting a lot out of that because you're getting 8 microphone preamps, and we'll actually look here at the pictures, and you are getting 2 mic line inputs on the front and another 6 on the back if we look right here. So this will give you enough inputs to run pretty much everybody. If you do 4 on the drums, a couple of guitar mics, a bass mic, and a vocal mic, right? Perfect. It also has plenty of line outputs, which is great. You've got a ton of options when it comes to this box. Now there's also expansion here. They have Toslink or ADAT in and out, so you can easily connect, you know, additional 8 channel banks of mic pre's. So you can go pretty crazy with this, right? So you're looking at that, plus I think they have another one called the Claret series, and these get a little bit more pricey. So you have the Claret 8 Pre here, and this is their higher end, and I believe you get a little bit more bells and whistles in the software, but you're getting pretty much the same I/O, just better sounding. They're all USB-C, you know, they like that, which is great. I love USB-C. And then you also have the same setup here, 2 on the front, 6 on the back, a couple headphone outs, and both the Claret and the Scarlett series have internal processing and routing, so you can route things to headphones and whatnot to create a couple headphone mixes for people in the band, which is great. Very, very cool. Or, you know, if you're recording in the studio, if you're multi-tracking, perfect. Now, the Claret is a little more expensive. I mean, let's go look at Sweetwater, because that'll give us US-based prices. Scarlett 18i20. we're looking at, yeah, $4.99 for that guy. Okay, $4.99, not bad. Let's look at the Claret. Claret 8 Pre. Pretty self-explanatory there. $8.69. So you're spending $8.69 to get that higher level of quality, basically, from their stuff. So let's look back at this Scarlett 18920. We were talking earlier where it has, well, let's make these a little bit bigger. It has on the front of it the 2 microphone pre's. We'll go to this picture. 2 microphone mic line inputs, and I think these are actually instrument inputs on the front. And on the back, it has an additional 6 inputs, right? And then we got 10 total outputs, 2 of the mains, and then we got 8 alternate outputs. So how would we expand this? Let's say 8, you want 8 mics on the drums, you need something else, right? So there are a lot of different manufacturers who make just an 8 Pre version. And Focusrite is one of them. So they have the Claret Octopre, okay? And this will give us an additional 8 channels of I/O. And if you look on the back here, it has the ADAT or Toslink or light pipe, whatever you want to call it, to send back to your, whether you get the Scarlett or the Claret, right? So this one is running about $700. That's pretty pricey. So for the Scarlett at $500 and the Octopre at $700, I mean, you're looking at $1,200 there, right? And as a recording box, these are great. I love these. I love the Focusrite stuff. Even the lower end stuff sounds pretty dang good. But I'm going to tell you right now, don't buy these. Do not buy these types of interfaces. If you are in a band, this is not what you want to get. If you are a recording engineer, an audio engineer, and that's all you do is you're in the studio, you can get one of these. Go down this path. But if you're in a band, in any sense of the word, if you're an engineer and you're in a band, go a different route. And I'll show you that right now. Now I'm going to let you in on a little secret. In order to look for the proper way to do things in the studio, you really have to look at what the live sound market is doing. Now I'm kind of a weird, well, I don't know, maybe not so much anymore, but for a while there I was a weird anomaly where I do both. I do studio and I do live work. So most of my studio stuff is more dialogue based, but I am in a studio grinding away. And then I love the live side of things where you go and you mix a gig and you're done, right? There's no, you're in the moment, you're mixing, everything's got to go right, and then you're done and you're off. So what I would suggest if you really want to get the most out of your money is to get something like this. Let me grab it. Boom. This is the guy. Now, this is one version that one manufacturer makes, and I particularly like this one, but we'll get into that a little bit later. This is the studiolive Series 3 rack mixer, more specifically the 16R from PreSonus. Now, I'm going to set that down. I'm going to set that right there in all of its glory. So we can take a look at what this guy offers compared to what we see with the Focusrite stuff. Don't get me wrong, actually. PreSonus makes a lot of studio equipment too. I mean, that's one of their, that's another arm of their product line. They have the Quantum Series stuff that's just amazing, right? But this, I think, is their bread and butter, the studiolive series of mixers. So if you're in a band, this is what you want to get, and I'll tell you why. This is everything that the Claret and the Scarlett are, and like 10 times more what they can accomplish. It just is. So not only is this an interface, this is a 16-channel interface. It also has 16 microphone preamps. We've got 12 across the front here, 4 on the back. It sits at the exact same rack depth. That is one rack U, right? And then on the back, we'll take a look at the back here. We've got quite a bit going on. We've got those additional 4 mic pre's with a unbalanced input on 15 and 16, so you could do that. It's got dedicated stereo left and right out. It also has 6 additional 1/4 inch out. You got an AVB network, which we'll get to in just a second. We've got control network, which also we'll get to in a second. And then we've got USB. Now this is, USB-B, right? But it's still very very stable. They've made it, leaps and bounds have come along with USB, and it is very stable these days. And then power, all that fun stuff. So the beauty about this particular mixer, and like I said, there's other companies. I think Behringer, Midas, which is also Behringer, Mackie, a lot of like the mid to low tier manufacturers are making something like this. I would consider PreSonus kind of a mid tier because they actually care what they're doing. They started out as kind of an electronics for audio company. They come from kind of that heritage. And this particular unit is one of the best like compact style mixers especially for a band that's just starting up. Because not only is this an interface, like I said before, it is also a mixer that you can throw into a rack, you can take to a gig, you can run everything through here. You can run your monitor mixes, in-ear mixes, or wedges. You can also multi-track record your shows. You can give the front of house dude an iPad and he can mix your show from your mixer. But the biggest thing is the price for this particular unit. So if we go back to Sweetwater here and we're going to look for let's see, studiolive 16R. We're just going to click on that guy. Look at that. Right there. $1,000. This costs $1,000, where to make just the Scarlett an additional 8 mic pre work, you're sitting around that same 1,000 or more. In our example, we were at $1,200. This guy not only replaces both of those pieces of equipment, but it's also a live mixer, a monitor mixer. Everything kind of rolled into one, which is amazing. I've been dying for something like this. So let's just tick off the list that this thing does, okay? You're in your rehearsal space, right? You have this guy hooked up to a computer. You're rehearsing, you're tracking new ideas, you're multi-tracking new ideas, and then giving out like a basic mix to everybody, right? To take home and to listen to. Perfect. While you're doing that, you can also be tuning your in-ear mixes or your wedge mix with the outputs on the back. And then you can save that within the mixer, and it stays with the mixer. So you pull this out with all the equipment you're taking to the gig, right? You just put this in its own case. You take it to the gig, you recall your monitor mixes, your in-ear mix, and it's with a little bit of tweaking, it's pretty much the same. Not too bad. So then you go to the gig, you're ready to go because you have everything set up. You give the iPad, I've got an iPad down here, you give the iPad to the sound dude who's mixing for you, okay? He's mixing away, and then at the end of the show, you save that show to the mixer. That way, when you're coming back around on that leg of the tour, the next leg of the tour, you recall that same thing. Give the iPad to the same dude or a different dude. It's basically all set up. It's got all of his EQ settings for the room. It's got how he would have set up, mixed everything for your band, and that's that. And all you had to give him was a left and right out from the back of this thing. And then while you were at that gig and the front of house guy was mixing his stuff, you pulled out your phone and you were mixing your in-ears on your phone because there's a companion app for that, right? But then on top of that, you have your laptop off to the side here. You have this guy through these two ports in the back. We've got your AVB port and we've got your USB. One of those two, you've got that plugged in to your Mac laptop because it's AVB and Mac has AVB built in. Or on a Windows machine, you've got your USB plugged in and you're good to go. You're multi-tracking your entire show. Your entire tour, you could be multi-tracking. Every single place you go to, you can multi-track the entire show, save it away, either put it in a vault or take it back home, plug it back into a set of studio monitors, and mix your dang live album to sell to people. It makes complete sense. And the fact that they've brought it down into a single rack U is phenomenal. And to have all that functionality, as well. Now on the front here, on this particular model, they have an SD card slot. Now this one, the 16, is a little bit different because this will only multi-track, I believe, your stereo mix onto here and maybe one other stereo source. Don't quote me on that, but you'll at least get your stereo mix off of there. So if you wanted to do something where you are sending, you can send 2 channels. So let's say you use one of your aux mixes, like you stereo pair an aux mix or something like that, and you have it kind of preset a mix, or somebody who has a mix in their ears, or maybe even another front of house guy or the front of house guy you take could have on a Q mix or a aux mix sending to there, and that could be your live show, and you sell it right after the show. You just, sell it to people, put them on a list, and you email them that show. Make some more money, right? And then you go back home after your tour, you mix the best songs from the best shows, and you release a live album. It's amazing. Now, these rack mount mixers are a little bit, a little held back on what they can do as far as the SD card is concerned. All the rack mount mixers can only record a 2-channel mix. I wish they would kind of step that up. Seems like kind of a missed opportunity. Maybe they were trying to hit a certain price point, so they had to nix that feature, because yes, you can record to your computer over USB and AVB. So not a huge bummer there, but to have everything self-contained where you didn't necessarily need a computer, that would have been amazing. Now, to be 100% honest, I usually just stick with the PreSonus stuff because it's built like a tank. It's very easy to use. It sounds great. And I've never really had any functionality issues with any of the studiolive stuff. Now, I know some people have. I don't know exactly what the issues were, but they tend to be pretty solid, especially when you're running them through that kind of rigorous touring schedule or something like that. That these stand up to that. So I wouldn't worry about that. Really, the question is, how many inputs do you need? If this 16-channel mixer is good for you, and that's all you need, and you only need 6 mono outs or 3 stereo ears on the back, then this is perfect for you. If you need something a little bit more, you're going to want to look at what we have on the screen over here, which is the 24R. Now, this guy gives you 24 inputs. They're all in the front. Not too bad. It'll still only give you, 2-channel record on the SD card, but you can record, I believe, up to, this is the comparison chart here, so I'm just going down. I believe you can record up to 64 inputs on either of these. So the 16R that we have here is the most basic version, but it'll record 18 by 18. Perfect. It'll record 16 inputs and a stereo bus. Now, the other two, the 24 and the 32R, will record 64 channels. So if you have, let's say you have this 24R right here, and let's pull up the back image of it. You have the network audio input here, okay? So what you could do is you could get one of their stage boxes along with it. I know they're a little bit more pricey. Yeah, they're another $600, $700, $800, but you could theoretically run one of those over to this AVB input on the mixer, have an additional 8 to 16 inputs and I think 8 outputs on those guys, and then record let's say you're doing the 32. So if we went to the 32, and we've got 32 inputs on this guy right here. Now here's the back. AVB input. So you can get 2 of their NSB stage boxes. Now they have the 16 and the 8, so you can have 16 or 8 additional inputs and 8 additional outputs. You can even do 2 of these NSB 16/8s back to back and have an additional 32 by 16 on stage. Now that's going to be, that's a lot. That's 64 inputs at that point with the 32R and 2 of these NSB 16/8s. So you're getting a little crazy there, but if that's what you need and you need to be compact, this is the way to go. Just price versus value, these are the mixers you want to get. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you are in a band, please consider picking up, if not the PreSonus one, pick up something like it, because you'll be happy with having all that functionality. It'll make your life a lot easier. You won't have to buy a separate mixer for rehearsing and for gigs, then you know, an interface for recording. You just won't have to worry about that. It'll all be built into one. Like I said, other manufacturers have things very similar to this. This is just one that I'm used to and that I'm the most comfortable with. So if you want me to go into more detail into their apps, like they have what's called Universal Control, which is on the computer, and Universal Control Surface, they call it UC Surface on an iPad. They've got the QMix on the iPhone. There's tons of videos out there about how these apps work. Like I said, there's plenty of other videos out there. I wanted to kind of make the case to get one of these instead of a regular interface, because you're gonna be happier with one of these. If you did like this video, please thumb up us, and that really helps in the whole scheme of YouTube. If you like this video and want to see others like it, go ahead and subscribe. It'll give you a notification whenever we upload a new video. And that is pretty much it, guys. So I will see you in the next one.